It is our last Sunday roundtable in July. Boo-hoo, right? It's already end of July. With us this morning, Democratic political analyst Marianne Morrison, Republican political analyst Virginia Buckingham. I always call you Ginny, but we call you Virginia right now. It's always fun.
Serious time.
There's time.
Yes.
There's
The end
time.
of July.
Yes.
Serious.
All right, Virginia. We just heard the conversation with Senator Warren. Anytime you get the senior senator in the chair, there's always some meat to pick on. What did you see? What did you hear?
Well, she certainly gave more of a full-throated endorsement of Kamala Harris than the Obamas did, who could barely show up to do it and had to pick up the phone and release that bizarre video. So I thought she, made a good case. Whether she really truly believes it is another matter. We remember they ran against each other. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's going to help much in the states that matter.
Marianne?
Well, I mean, Warren consistently said throughout this process, when it would look like Biden might step down, she would always say, Joe Biden's a great guy, he's doing a great job, but I'm comforted by the fact that if he did, that Kamala Harris would step in. So I think the advice she gave on the show today about the fact she has a chance to reintroduce herself, people look at you for the first time in your full measure, can you be president, and emphasizing abortion and the abortion rights work she's been doing since overturning Roe v. Wade was great advice.
All right, let's talk about VP. When will we know, and who will it be? Marianne.
I had an idea when the Biden switch would happen. This one, I don't know, but they have to have it done in 2 weeks just because of deadlines in terms of the virtual nomination, getting on the ballot in Ohio, et cetera, et cetera. So I would look for that in the next 14 days.
Who would you pick?
I think it's either going to be Shapiro or Kelly. Shapiro would bring Pennsylvania with him, 19 electoral votes. Kelly would bring Arizona and 11 electoral votes. It's been a long time. Maybe Lyndon Johnson, that we've picked a VP based on who can deliver a state. But this is a razor-thin race, and it's a matter of the margins. If you can deliver one of those states, I'm all for it.
All right, Ginny, Josh Shapiro has not been governor that long, same as Maura Healey here in Massachusetts, about 20 months. He is one of the most popular governors in the country. Could he bring Pennsylvania with him?
He probably could. She has to pick someone who's going to bring the center of the country with her. That's not going to be from the left side of the party. And I suspect she will do that. But as soon as she can turn the attention back to Donald Trump, the better. The more it's about her and her campaign, I think she's losing.
That's a perfect inflection point. So let's turn the focus of the Trump campaign. He is now running against a different candidate than expected, right? With what, 100 days till the general election. Mm-hmm. And at this moment, we don't know the full ticket. He doesn't know the full ticket. We don't know the full ticket. But just a week after promising to unify the country, he reverted to calling names this week. He didn't call her Kamala, he called her Kamala. Is Kamala Harris ready? Is she already under his skin? Is she already irritating him even more than ever?
I think Donald Trump's a little befuddled by her and maybe a little afraid. He's trying to get out of the debates. I mean, that tells you everything. And the other.
But ultimately, he can't avoid that, right? I mean, they'll debate.
It's Donald Trump. He will avoid anything he can, and especially going up against her. I mean, here's what we do know. Do they have a strategy yet? No. But they will take the Hillary Clinton playbook and the Barack Obama playbook. It will be sexist and misogynistic, like slurring that we've already heard. He went after Obama on his birth certificate because, why? He's black, so it'll be racist. And that's what we're going to see, and it's not going to change.
Will it hurt him, Trump, in the field of women in this race?
Look, this campaign is going to come down to issues, which is not a bad thing. It's going to come down to whether abortion is the issue people vote on or whether it's immigration and maybe a little inflation thrown on top. And if Donald Trump can prosecute the campaign he was going to prosecute against Biden, against Harris, he has a good shot. If he goes down these rabbit holes of what kind of senator she was in California and AG and what was her record, then he's in bad shape.
So let's take a moment, though, to talk about Joe Biden, because we're running out of time for this segment. But he's got 6 months left in office. You heard what Elizabeth Warren wants him to focus on. What would you have him focus on, Marianne?
Most productive president in 3.5 years in history. I think he will continue to bring down costs for Americans, continue to put more jobs on the table, more people at work. I think he will do Supreme Court reform, and I think he will do student loan debt forgiveness as well. He can use executive orders and administrative orders to do a lot. He doesn't need Congress.
Supreme Court, can he push anything through as a lame duck?
I don't think he can, but the fact that he said himself he's going to focus on undermining the independent judiciary in this country is a terrible thing, and I hope that it's something Kamala Harris is asked to defend.
Wait, the Republicans have already undermined all of it, including
Absolutely
several
not.
Supreme Court
Absolutely
justices
not.
who have conflicts and taken gifts, and I point to Thomas and Alito as exhibits A and B.
We're not talking about ethics, we're talking about independence.
They are not independent if you're taking gifts of millions of dollars and not reporting them.
We're on the record this morning. We'll be right back.